Chapter 1577. Hu family's father and son Hu Minghui, who was drowsy at first, came out from behind the makeshift curtain in the thatched shack after hearing the commotion. He was haggard and worn, with hollowed cheeks. One arm hung limply by his side. One leg was missing from below the knee, and horrible pus and blood were still oozing from the wound. Seeing the folks wearing Miracle Healer Academy uniforms, Hu Minghui rushed over like a madman, screaming at the top of his lungs. "Did that bastard Tong Bing send you to torture me? I will take you all down with me." Before Hu Minghui could reach Jin Ziyu, Qin Xiaofeng effortlessly shoved him to the ground. Jin Ziyu looked at them condescendingly and said calmly, "Feed them medicinal pills." Butler Hu and his son still had some cultivation, but they were one level lower than before. They should have suffered severe injuries. Butler Hu thought the students were going to feed him and his son poison. They immediately yelled and struggled hysterically. However, Qin Xiaofeng just flicked his fingers lightly, and the medicinal pills entered their mouths quickly. However, after 15 minutes, Butler Hu felt that something was amiss. The dried-out spiritual power inside his body surged, and the previously burning pain in his dantian was relieved. Even the wound on Hu Minghui's feet recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye, even though his injured hands and feet could not recover. Staring in disbelief at the small wound that was slowly healing on his palm, Butler Hu knelt before Jin Ziyu. "Benefactor, may I know your honorable name? My son and I are forever indebted for your immense kindness and would work tirelessly in gratitude." Jin Ziyu's expression remained cold. "I'm not interested in asking you to work with me, but I need you to take good care of someone." Although Butler Hu was full of doubts, he immediately expressed his loyalty. "May I ask who the benefactor wants us to take care of?" "We will do our best." Jin Ziyu sneered and waved his hand. Someone outside the door quickly threw in Tong Bing, who was tightly bound. Tong Bing was awake, but his mouth was sealed with a disgusting paste. He was unable to speak. Seeing Tong Bing being thrown in, Hu Minghui's eyes turned bloodshot. He rushed over frantically. His eyes shot out raging fire of hatred. He roared, "Tong Bing, you vicious devil! You scum! You deserve 1,000 cuts! You're going to die horribly! You're going to hell! You are definitely going to hell!" Butler Hu grabbed his son and tried to comfort him before looking at Jin Ziyu with red eyes. "What do you want?" Before Jin Ziyu could speak, Qin Xiaofeng chuckled and said, "Butler Hu, you're smart. You surely know what I want. This scum is cunning, vicious, and cruel. It's not just you and your son that he has offended. There are many more. Our master doesn't want to dirty his hand because of this scum, so he wants to give him to Butler Hu and his son to take good care of him. Just make sure he doesn't die easily. What do you say, Butler Hu?" Butler Hu was taken aback momentarily, and a blazing light burst out from his eyes. Hu Minghui trembled from his head to the toe, with his mouth wavering. He stared at Tong Bing before bursting into hearty laughter. "Excellent. This is just perfect. Please go back and tell your master that I will take good care of him. I will ensure he won't have a single moment free from torture worse than death." Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Comment if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1578. Too late to regret. Though Tong Bing was tied up and couldn't speak, he could hear the conversation. Seeing Hu Minghui's piercingly hateful eyes, he struggled and whimpered violently. Tong Bing regretted it deeply. He could accept death, even becoming a toy boy, but he couldn't bear falling into the hands of the Hu family's father and son. That would be a torment worse than death, more terrifying than hell. Jin Ziyu threw out a bag of crystal stones, turned around, and left without saying anything. Just as he was about to leave, Qin Xiaofeng suddenly turned around and smiled meaningfully at Butler Hu and his son. "By the way, I have forgotten to mention that Tong Bing is into men. So, when you're taking care of him, make sure you don't get it wrong. Ha 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 ha. Hu Minghui laughed wildly. He suddenly entered the inner room and pulled a large chain from under his bed. Then, he thrust it forcefully towards Tong Bing's hip bone, saying, Tong Bing, do you know what this chain is? The men you sent used it to tie me up and humiliate me. They ignored my pleas and screams, treating me worse than an animal. They even used this chain to saw off my right leg. Before they left, they made it clear to me that you, Tong Bing, ordered them to do all this. You even had them tell me explicitly that this was your revenge for the times I humiliated and beat you. Tong Bing. Hu Minghui's voice became sharp. You're not human at all. You're lower than an animal. Sure, I mistreated you back then, maybe gave you a beating, or kept you from taking a test you'd never pass anyway. But what did you do? You not only destroyed my family, but you also had people torture me and my father to death. You turned me into a cripple. My father's leg is crippled for protecting me. His cultivation even dropped by a level. I've kept the chain ever since, telling myself I must have my revenge one day. I didn't expect that heaven heard my prayer and gave me such a chance. Hu Minghui said with a sinister smile, I heard that there are many sex-hungry, low-rank martial artists in the northern crystal mines. To appease them and make them work more efficiently, some minor sects would secretly send over women or young boys to satisfy their needs. Do you know how tragic their fates are? Some of those young boys and girls are innocent. Compared to them, you're more deserving to be in that place. Who knows? You might even enjoy it. Tong Bing. Brace yourself for a lifetime of constantly wishing for death. Hu Minghui grabbed the chain excitedly, then turned around and asked Butler Hu, Father, let's go to the crystal mine tomorrow, okay? Tong Bing opened his eyes wide in horror. The pain in his chest made his whole body convulse, but it was nothing compared to the overwhelming despair that surged up in his heart. At this moment, Tong Bing was filled with regret. He thought of the innocent and kind-hearted person he once was when he first met Shi Yu, recalled her help, and remembered his initial admiration and respect for her. What should have been a beautiful beginning took a different turn, leading him further and further astray. At this point in time, it was too late to regret. He no longer had the chance to turn back. The dim candlelight swayed gently in the empty room. Its flickering light was reflected across Liu Zhishi's face. Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Comment if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1579. Serve Liu Zhishi anxiously looked at her father, Liu Xiyang, whose eyes were slightly closed. She whispered pleadingly, Father, I don't want to serve that Qishan. I'm fond of Nangong Yu. Father, can't you grant me my wish? Grant your wish. Liu Xiyang opened his eyes, lowered his gaze to look at the girl kneeling before him, and said with a faint smile, I would love to grant your wish, but you're worthless. You didn't win Nangong Yu's heart. How do you expect me to help you? Desperation filled Liu Zhishi's eyes. She was about to say something, but Liu Xiyang's expression turned cold. I'm warning you. Serving Qishan is my order, and there's no room to say no. You don't want to serve Qishan? Fine, but I'll reclaim the voodoo from you. You will turn back to your decaying appearance. No, I'd rather die than go back to that. Liu Zhishi jolted, and she screamed hysterically. She would rather die than turn back into that hideous appearance at the Magic Beast Forest. Liu Xiyang smiled and caressed Liu Zhishi's cheek. So, you need to behave and be an obedient daughter. I've never invested in someone who doesn't bring any value. Understand? If you do, change into the clothes I've prepared for you and head to Qishan's room. Liu Zhishi was resentful. but she still had to leave obediently. Lu Xiang sat on the seat, frowning. With his eyes narrowed, he suddenly reached out his hand and grabbed the air. The next moment, a wisp of green smoke appeared, hovering gently in his palm. Rosemary, the scent that Hushi smelled in the Seven Stars trapping formation, was a potent aphrodisiac. However, Hushi's ability was limited by the Seven Stars trapping formation at that time, so she didn't realize that the rosemary was mixed with dazzling voodoo powder. The voodoo was grounded, turning into powder under a dedicated process. When the Mother Voodoo called out, it would return to Mother Voodoo. Lu Xiang cast his devouring power toward the green smoke. His initially calm face burst into joy. It's the wood source. It is really the wood source. Ha ha ha, Shiyu, I knew it must be you. I have been searching for it, and it turns out the wood source is just right before me. The wood source is destined to be mine. Lu Zhishi was carried into Qishan's room, barely clothed. Her heart was filled with shame and anger. When she saw Qishan's face, she was so disgusted that she almost wanted to throw up. Qishan's sallow complexion revealed crack patterns when he was in heat, making him look nauseating due to his close resemblance to a reptile. Lu Zhishi thought that night would be miserable for her, but things turned out to be the opposite of what she expected. When Qishan touched her skin, her body seemed to be ignited by something. She was overwhelmed with waves of unbearable heat. At first, the sight of Qishan made her feel nauseous. Touching his rough skin would startle her, causing her to withdraw her hand quickly. However, as the heat in her body became more and more intense, her rationality was overwhelmed by desire. She couldn't help but climb on top of Qishan and moan. That burning passion and her proactiveness eventually became too much for Qishan to handle. The passionate encounter lasted for over an hour. Qishan lay on the bed covered in sweat. The cracked patterns on his face receded, reverting into the sallow complexion. There was a trace of fatigue in his eyes. Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Comment if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know, report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1580. Radiant Lu Zhishi was also drenched in sweat, but she looked radiant. Flushed from the lingering passion, her face appeared especially enchanting and seductive. Moreover, to Lu Zhishi's ecstasy, she found out that her strength had increased when she channeled her spiritual power. The voodoo within her became increasingly excited and active. Since her voodoo became more active, her appearance became even more captivating. Her eyes were brimming with endless charm. Why has my strength grown after my intimate encounter with Qishan? Could the voodoo within me be absorbing Qishan's power, adding it to my own? Thinking of this, a wave of greed struck Lu Zhishi's heart. She didn't care about Qishan's ugly appearance anymore. She clung to Qishan softly and whispered, "My lord, I want more. Let's do it again, shall we?" Qishan was exhausted. However, Lu Zhishi's enticing figure and seductive moan made him lose all restraints. Without hesitation, he pinned her down beneath him, indulging in another passionate round. Another hour passed. Lu Zhishi looked radiant, showing no signs of having been ravaged. Moreover, the absorption of fundamental essence took place without leaving a trace. Even though Qishan was at soul-splitting stage, he had not noticed it. Huh? Lu Zhishi laughed silently in her heart. She finally knew why Lu Xiang put voodoo inside her. He only wanted to make me the plaything for the powerhouses and take away their spiritual essence through the voodoo in me. But so what? Now that I know about this, I can take advantage of it. Yeah, I'm sleeping with an ugly man, so what? As long as I can become stronger and align myself with a master, Lu Xiang can only become my stepping stone. Nangong, you will become mine one day. Lu Zixi gently rubbed against Qi Shan's body, trying to trick Qi Shan into going intimate with her for a few more rounds. However, Qi Shan felt drained this time, so he rejected Lu Zixi's seductive invitation. However, Qi Shan didn't expect that Lu Zixi was plotting against him. He thought he had just crossed the barrier to a lower realm, so his body and spiritual power had not fully recovered. Therefore, he was unable to do what he wanted. Lu Zixi lay on Qi Shan weakly, resembling a delicate bird nestling against someone. However, there was a trace of disdain in her eyes. This man is nothing. It's only 2 rounds, but he can't take it anymore. When I find a better backer, I will kick him away sooner or later. Thinking of this, Lu Zixi gently caressed Qi Shan's chest and playfully pouted. Sir Qi Shan is so powerful. It's Zixi's first time today, and I almost couldn't handle it. Qi Shan showed a complacent look on his face. No man would not like to hear a woman's praise in this regard. Lu Zixi said again, "My lord, I've given myself entirely to you. You have to take responsibility for me." Qi Shan caressed her soft cheek, his voice rough and raspy. "You little seductress. How do you want me to take responsibility for you? Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Comment if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know, report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1581. Suspicion. I've always heard that the Siam continent is much better than the Miluo continent, with treasures around every corner. I'm hoping to visit Siam with you and broaden my horizons. Now that I'm yours, I can't stand the thought of being away from you even for a day. Qi Shan smiled, but didn't give her a clear answer. It was not the first time he had encountered a woman in the lower realm dedicating herself to flattery, hoping for a chance to ascend to the upper realm. To him, although Lu Zixi might be pretty and entertaining, she was just a plaything. Whether you can go to the upper realm with me depends on your performance. Lu Zixi gritted her teeth secretly, but said coquettishly, "My lord, didn't Zixi behave well enough just now? How else do you want Zixi to behave?" Qi Shan rolled his eyes and suddenly said in a deep voice, "Tell me first, what is the origin of that Shiyu?" When Lu Zixi heard Shiyu's name, her increasingly seductive face twisted ferociously. It took her a long time to calm down. She gritted her teeth and said, "She is just a village girl from a small place. What kind of background does she possibly have? It's sheer luck that she has immortal Xian Qing as her master. Otherwise, where would she be today? My lord, you wouldn't believe it. Immortal Xian Qing treats the village girl well, establishing the Xingda pharmacy for her and providing her with the best quality pill. Immortal Xian Qing had even advanced her cultivation from the foundation establishment stage to gold core stage. That bitch only had foundation establishment stage when she ventured into the magical beast forest. She was supposed to die there, but she advanced in the forest into the gold core stage. Even heaven favors her." The more Lu Zixi said, the more resentful and crazy she became. However, Qi Shan frowned and caught Lu Zixi's words. Did she advance from the foundation establishment stage to the gold core stage within half a year? It even happened in the magical beast forest. Tell me exactly what happened when she promoted her cultivation. Zixi was annoyed, full of disdain. The last thing she wanted to talk about was Shiyu's shining achievements. Qi Shan suddenly narrowed his eyes and said, "As long as you tell me everything you know, without any falsehoods, I promise to take you to Siam continent when your cultivation reaches the nascent soul stage." My lord, are you serious? Qi Shan's eyes flashed a hint of sarcasm, but he smiled and said, "Little beauty, you serve me so well. How could I lie to you? But don't blame me for being harsh if you dare to lie." Qi Shan spoke the last sentence in a stern voice. Lu Zixi shuddered, but she eventually committed and recounted in detail the scene of Shiyu's advancement in cultivation during that time. The more Qi Shan listened, the more dignified his expression became. The time when Shiyu advanced was precisely the time when Golden Wolf planned to capture the Beastkins in the magical Beast Forest. However, after that, Golden Wolf suddenly disappeared. When he returned, he had become a fool, repeating the words with source repeatedly. Moreover, after Qishan inquired about the Miluo continent, he found out that during those days, unusual events happened in the magical Beast Forest. There were thunderclouds covering the sky and green beams of light shooting straight into the sky. It just so happened that Shiyu ascended to the gold core stage at that time. Could everything be related to this girl? The same girl who would actually wear the phoenix feather heavenly dress, and even make the phoenix feather heavenly dress acknowledge her as the owner. Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Comment if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1582. Good for nothing. Thinking of this, Qishan could no longer stay still. He abruptly pushed away Zhishi, who was lying on top of him, and swiftly got up. Lu Zhishi reached out to hold him back and said puzzledly, "My lord, what's the matter? It's still late at night. Why did you get up?" Before she could finish speaking, Qishan impatiently pushed her aside and vanished from the room in a flash. Zhishi was left alone and utterly clueless about what she did wrong. She looked both shocked and scared. While Lu Xiyang was eagerly and excitedly thinking about how to get the wood source, he suddenly felt a violent spiritual power fluctuation coming from the direction of the barrier teleportation array. With a serious look, he hurried over, but only saw Qishan disappearing into the barrier. "Father, what happened? Why did Sir Qishan leave suddenly?" Lu Zhishi's panicked voice came from behind. The panic was mixed with resentment. "This bastard! How dare he leave after everything? What did you take me, Lu Zhishi, as? You're supposed to improve my strength and bring me to the Siam continent as soon as possible." Lu Xiyang's expression turned livid. He slowly turned to look at Lu Zhishi. "That's a question I should be asking you. What just happened? Why did Qishan leave so suddenly?" Lu Zhishi said aggrievedly, "Father, I obeyed your order to serve Sir Qishan. I don't know why Sir Qishan suddenly." Lu Xiyang waved his hand to cut her off. He said with a gloomy face, "Tell me everything you have done and said. If you dare to hide anything, you will know the consequences." Lu Zhishi was terrified when she saw Lu Xiyang's cold and cruel eyes. Years of dominance made her dare not resist, so she obediently recounted everything that had just happened. When Lu Xiyang heard her mentioning what happened before and after Shiyu's advancement in cultivation, his expression was gloomy and frightening. Before Zhishi could finish her sentence, he slapped her hard, gritting his teeth and saying, "You're good for nothing. I can't believe a useless person like you ruined my plan." Half of Lu Zhishi's cheek was swollen from the slap. She fell heavily to the ground, looking at Lu Xiyang with astonishment and horror. Lu Xiyang sneered, with a sharp cold glint in his eyes. "I kept you around to restore your beauty, hoping that you could control the people sent by the Green Vine clan. I have never expected you to be so useless. Not only did you fail to seduce Qishan, but you also ruined my entire plan. What's the use of me keeping trash like you?" Father, I'm sorry. I dare not repeat the mistake again. Please give your daughter another chance, sob." Lu Zhishi cried loudly. She knew how cruel Lu Xiyang was, who might probably kill her on the spot. Lu Xiyang raised his hand in midair. He sneered, "Fine, I'll spare your life. You'll serve well to divert Nangong Yu's attention. I bet you didn't know. Nangong Yu and the Nangong family have already grasped the crucial clues. Soon, they will trace the clues back to you. Ha, my dear daughter. Best of luck to you." Lu Zhishi's eyes widened all of a sudden. Her face was filled with fear. She opened her mouth wide, wanting to say something. However, Lu Xiang already instructed coldly, "Send Miss back to Miracle Healer Academy. Without my permission, she is not allowed to return to the Doctors Association." "No! Dad! Dad! Help me! Help me!" A shrill cry sounded in Lu Xiang's mansion and disappeared without a trace. Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Comment if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1583, Legend as for Heshi. After they returned to the dormitory of Huang Medical Branch, Nangongyu was quickly driven away by the impatient, immortal Xianqing. Nangongyu found this old man not pleasing to the eye, but immortal Xianqing's cultivation was higher. He was Shier's master, too, so he could only stomach his frustration. After Nangongyu left, immortal Xianqing took out the chicken legs and fine wine. While indulging in the food, he mumbled, "My dear Discipline, did you agree to marry that rascal? You know, I have connections with many talented young men in the upper realm, surely better choices than that Nangongyu." A hint of amusement flashed in Hushi's eyes, but she feigned complaint. "No way. Just one relationship is troublesome enough, and now you want to introduce me to a bunch of potential dates? Are you trying to make my life even more complicated?" Immortal Xianqing glanced at her. He shook his head and said, Young girls grow up so quickly. In such a short time, my sweet and precious disciple has been charmed away by that Nangong family's brat. K, he's just as shameless as his master." Hushi asked in surprise, "Master? Who is Nangongyu's master?" Immortal Xianqing paused momentarily, then chuckled awkwardly. "That's a shameless old man. Every time he loses a fight with me, he throws a fit. He's always mooching off my food and drink. Humph. It figures that his disciple and grand-disciple would be cut from the same cloth." Hushi glanced suspiciously at immortal Xianqing. She had the illusion that the person who lost the duel fight and cheated was her gluttonous master. Feeling embarrassed by Hushi's gaze, immortal Xianqing glared back at her. After quickly finishing the chicken leg in his hand, he said in a deep voice, "Bring out the phoenix feather, heavenly dress, and purple jade phoenix hairpin for me to see." Hushi was surprised but still took out the two items without hesitation. Phoenix feather heavenly dress looked lavish and vibrant. Both its fabric and accessories emitted a faint glow. However, it shone a bit lesser than when Hushi wore it. However, when Hushi touched it, a ray of light flashed immediately on the cloth woven with natural silk. The array patterns on it flashed. In Hushi's eyes, it was as if the crisscross patterns on the clothes were suddenly energized when she touched them. Hushi's eyes widened slightly. Immortal Xianqing's face turned serious. The playful smile just now was no longer on his face. He spoke in a deep voice. "The seal of the phoenix feather heavenly dress has been lifted. That's quite unexpected." Immortal Xianqing looked at his disciple. The expression in his eyes was indescribably complicated. The young girl before him was in the prime of her youth, stunningly beautiful. Even in the legendary god domain, it might be hard to find a woman more captivating than her. Initially, immortal Xianqing accepted this disciple because he liked this young girl's personality. Besides, he really couldn't resist the temptation of delicious food. However, what he thought to be an ordinary lower realm girl had such an astonishing secret behind her. Everything was unimaginable, whether it was the portrait, her stunning talent, or the hidden power of those around her. Not to mention the activated phoenix feather heavenly dress. Does my young disciple understand what it means for the phoenix feather heavenly dress to be activated? If the legend is true, the rightful owner of phoenix feather heavenly dress is destined to be that person's. Immortal Xianqing frowned tightly. Even Hushi noticed his unusual behavior. She couldn't help but ask, "Master, what's the matter? Is there something wrong with this phoenix feather heavenly dress?" Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Comment if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1584. Disaster. Immortal Qianqing looked at Hushi hesitantly, pausing momentarily before asking, "Are you sure you're set on marrying none other than Nangongyu?" Hushi blushed. For a rare moment, she looked like a bashful young girl. "Master, how many times are you going to ask me that? If there were anyone in this world she would willingly spend her life with, it would undoubtedly be Nangongyu. Moreover, we had set a date for our wedding. We will return to Jinling City after the matter of Miracle Healer Academy is over. Master, will you go back together?" Hushi had always been reserved and independent, but she could sense every bit of affection that immortal Qianqing showered on her. From initially resisting him to accepting him, she truly regarded this old man as a master and an elder. That was why she occasionally showed a softer, youthful side before him. Seeing her demeanor, immortal Qianqing knew it wasn't a one-sided, deep infatuation from Nangongyu. He couldn't help but sigh and say, Okay, I won't ask anymore. However, be careful from now on." Seeing immortal Qianqing's solemn expression, Hushi immediately restrained herself and listened to the teaching. Immortal Qianqing narrowed his eyes slightly. Members of the Green Vine clan and the Nangong family witnessed everything today. Soon, this news will spread to the Siam continent. If they learn that you've worn the phoenix feather heavenly dress, there will be a lot of troubles. What concerns me most isn't that, but the wood's spiritual root in your body. Green Vine clan has been looking for the purest wood's spiritual root, intending to claim it as their own. It will spell disaster if they discover the wood's spiritual root in you. Hushi wanted to confess to immortal Qianqing about the wood source, but immortal Qianqing suddenly picked up Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress. A stream of pure spiritual power, mixed with the power of fundamental essence, suddenly poured into Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress. The already illuminated glowing patterns on the Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress shone as bright as the blazing sun, dazzling and brilliant. When the power and light faded, immortal Qianqing slumped exhausted into his chair. His face revealed his fatigue. Even the wrinkles on his face deepened a bit more. "Master!" Immortal Qianqing waved his hand, signaling Hushi to stay calm. He panted briefly before saying, "What are you shouting for? Pouring this bit of spiritual power and fundamental essence into it doesn't kill me. I can recover in merely a month." Hushi frowned and looked at Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress. "Master, why are you?" After catching his breath, immortal Qianqing quickly took out a bottle of fine wine, had several gulps, and sighed. "Now that's a good wine. A drink brings this old man back to life. Ha!" Seeing Hushi's worried and disapproving face, immortal Qianqing smiled and said, "My dear disciple, I know you can now use old Zijin's Maha inheritance at the 3rd level, Sinless Fire. This move is mighty. When executed at full strength, it can instantly kill martial artists in the early and middle stages of the soul-splitting stage. However, your current cultivation is inadequate. Using the Sinless Fire will exhaust your spiritual power. At most, you can instantly kill a nascent soul-stage martial artist. I have infused my fundamental essence into the Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress. If you ever find yourself in grave danger, put on the Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress and unleash the Sinless Fire. The power of the move is raised to its limit. Also, I have ensured you can cast it at least 3 times. You have too many secrets surrounding you, girl. I can't always be by your side to protect you. Even if you used an inscribed message jade slip to alert me, I might not make it in time. Thankfully, The Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress can store fundamental essence. Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Comment if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1585. Widespread news, my dear disciple. This is a wedding gift from me. Oh, I have suffered a big loss this time, losing so much of my spiritual energy. I have to drink a lot of fine wine to make up for it. She took over the Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress and felt the robust energy circulating on the dress. She felt grateful and joyful. This gift was indeed what she needed and liked the most. Thank you, Master. She hugged immortal Qianqing, ignoring his sloppy clothes and the alcohol residue on his beard. She decided that after this busy period, she would brew some fine wine for immortal Qianqing, showcasing her culinary and brewing skills from her previous life to repay her master's kindness. Immortal Qianqing was flustered, and even his face was red. "Ha, my cold and indifferent apprentice suddenly treats me so kindly. Such magnitude of care makes me flattered. No wonder those elderlies in the Siam continent like the youngsters so much, wanted to pamper them so much." The news that Shiyu was a woman spread rapidly to the entire Miluo continent. Due to Nangong Yu's influence, the boundless black market spread the news everywhere. In just a few days, the Miluo continent heard two pieces of news. The first piece of news was that Shiyu was a woman. The second piece of news was that the king of hell, Nangong Yu, and Shiyu would get married on September 9th. The location was set to be the Yinjing city of Jinling Kingdom. Shiyu and the others were running busy in the sealed dragon domain of Jinling Kingdom. Was the sealed dragon domain big? Yes, that place was vast beyond imagination. The warehouse there could store thousands of goods. However, the warehouse was almost full. Even the Greenwood domain, which had more caves, was short of space to store the treasures. In just a few days, the bridal gifts from the king of Hell Mansion kept pouring into the Tsang Mountain. Because of this, everyone knew that Shiyu was the one who snatched control of the sealed dragon domain's secret territory back then. Was it shocking? Yes, of course. However, when everyone knew that Shiyu was immortal Qianqing's disciple, the shock turned into amazement and acceptance. Immortal Zijin left behind the sealed dragon domain's secret territory. Moreover, or even better, the immortal Qianqing's cultivation was comparable to immortal Zijin's. So, there were no surprises for immortal Qianqing's disciples to acquire the sealed dragon domain. In just over a year since Shiyu rose to prominence, there were too many astonishing deeds she had accomplished. She established her name in the Breaking Spirit Mountain, acquired the Shengda Hall, concocted the best quality pill, saved the Yangon City Lord's son, and entered the Miracle Healer Academy. Now, it was revealed that she was a woman who would be marrying into the king of Hell Mansion. Many people thought that if someone said Shiyu was the Nine Heavens Maiden or a hidden gem from the vast sea, they wouldn't be surprised. The shock she had given everyone had been so numerous that they had become numb. The citizens of Jinling Kingdom had fully come to see the king of hell, Nangong Yu, and Shiyu as representatives of their kingdom. It was initially a small kingdom that everyone oppressed, but they held pride in speaking to outsiders with their identities now. Did you say you belonged to the Tsangming Kingdom? Was your land bigger than ours? That was nothing. If the king of hell attacked your land would soon belong to Jinling Kingdom at any minute. Chapter 1586. Dowry. So, I heard you were from the Shui sect, which was rich in resources. Could you get a steady supply of the best quality pills? Our Jinling Kingdom could because the headquarters of the Shingda Hall was in our Jinling Kingdom. She was also from our Jinling kingdom. Haha, the wedding of Heshi and Nangong Yu was celebrated as the biggest event in the Jinling kingdom. Everyone was eagerly awaiting the arrival of September 9th. In the sealed dragon domain, Shijia, Mai Xiang, Mu Dong, and the rest knelt in front of Mammy Chen's tomb, paying their respect individually. Shijia said softly, "Mammy Chen, the young miss asked me to tell you that she is doing well and is about to get married. You can rest easy now." Mai Xiang and Mu Dong had tears in their eyes. Although they didn't know Mammy Chen, they were aware that she was someone the young miss deeply respected. They had also heard many stories about Mammy Chen and knew the hardships she and the young miss had endured. Mai Xiang said sobbingly, "Mammy Chen, we will take good care of the young miss. His Royal Highness King of Hell is so in love with her. She will be happy after marriage." In the ice-snow domain, hundreds of thousands of Jinwei army gathered together, each with a look of astonishment and shock on their faces. Mr. Shiyu is actually a woman. The talented and dazzling Mr. Shiyu is actually a woman? That was already several days later. When they first heard the news, all 100,000 of them were utterly shocked. They were frozen in disbelief for several hours, unable to snap out of it. Chun Guang muttered, "Who would have thought that after training for so long, instead of having the young miss join the battle, we'd first have to attend her wedding?" Speaking of miss, Chun Guang's mouth twitched. He still couldn't believe it. She was a woman, and she was about to get married. Someone among the soldiers suddenly shouted, "Who cares if she is a young master or a young miss? Since she is getting married, we need to show up and support her. When the time comes, our troops will follow behind the wedding procession, carrying the dowry. We'll march in majestically with dowry spans thousands of miles." Upon hearing this, everyone rejoiced and burst into laughter. I wonder if the wedding banquet held by the King of Hell Mansion will be big enough to accommodate all 100,000 of us. If the wedding banquet isn't grand enough, how dare he marry our young miss? Someone shouted, "Anyway, the young miss has invited us to the wedding. Let's go and enjoy ourselves." PSH, are you kidding me? That's His Royal Highness King of Hell, the mightiest martial artist in our Jinling kingdom. He's currently the #1 of the Miluo continent. If he is marrying our young miss, do you really think that the arrangements would be anything less than grand? Apart from the Jinling kingdom, there was also the Shun family from the Qingxia sect, Master Yuewa of the Yangon city, and even the Han family and the Xia family. Some of them were shocked, and some were delighted. They all started looking for rare items as gifts for the September 9th. The entire Miluo continent immortal realm had never been so lively. Of course, while some people were delighted, there were also those who felt resentful and unwilling. When Nalan Yurong got the news, she had just returned from the nascent soul stage old man whom Master Shukong asked her to serve. Despite feeling disgusted and repulsed inside, she still put on a facade of a sweet smile on her face. Is she a woman? Is she marrying His Royal Highness King of Hell? How is this possible? This news must be fake. Nalan Yurong's voice was high-pitched and sharp, like nails scraping against a slate, creating a grating sound. Chapter 1587, Alone? The one who came to deliver the news was another female disciple of Master Shukong, who was not as beautiful as Nalan Yurong. However, her gaze at Nalan Yurong was filled with a condescending smirk. "Ha! How can that be impossible?" Those who participated in the Nangong family's banquet at Miracle Healer Academy passed the news back. She was not only a woman, but also stunningly beautiful, with remarkable talents. At such a young age, she already possesses the peak of the gold core stage. Compared to some useless idiots, she's miles ahead in terms of power. Unlike someone who is a nobody now, she still fantasizes that her Highness King of Hell loves her. TSK. I must admit that I can't match that level of shamelessness. Nalan Yurong's face turned pale, and then anger, sadness, and disbelief painted her expression. She seemingly gave the appearance of an infatuated woman whom the heartless man had let down. The female disciples of Master Shukong sneered. Her tone was sarcastic. Senior Sister Nalan, don't you always think that you are as beautiful as a fairy, and no one doesn't like you? Back then, you used your looks and the Nalan family's Juko Lingshan pill to marginalize me, so that Senior Brother and Master shun me. He didn't expect this, did you? The tides have turned, and now the Nalan family has fallen. The Juko Lingshan pill you brought back is fake, and your body has been defiled by who knows how many old men. What face do you have left to mock me, to ostracize me? Look at those junior brothers and sisters flocking around you now. Do you think they'll spare you another glance? Seeing Nalan Yurong's face getting increasingly sour, the female disciple fell into high spirits. She chuckled as she walked away. Before leaving, she remarked, "Oh, I almost forgot to remind you. The wedding of His Highness King of Hell and Shiyu is set on the 9th of September. Even though you're not invited." Ha ha ha. Nalan Yurong clenched her fist tightly with both hands and remained frozen. After a long time, she gritted her teeth and shook her head. No. King of Hell Nangong Yu initially proposed to Nalan Hushi for the relics of Ling Yue in her possession. Why would he suddenly want to marry Shiyu? Could it be Ling Yue's relics are already in Shiyu's hands? But why did Shiyu suddenly become a woman? The more Nalan Yurong thought about it, the more anxious she became. A vision of Nangong Yu's handsome and flawless face flashed through her mind, igniting a rush of warmth, followed by a surge of jealousy and burning resentment. Shiyu, you bitch. If you don't have Ling Yue's relic, how would you have the power and status you hold now? If I have the Ling Yue's relic, I would definitely... Wait a moment. Nalan Yurong's expression suddenly froze, her eyes flickering with a spark of realization. No! When did Shiyu appear? It was over a year ago, the same time as Nalan Hushi's transformation. Also, Sealed Dragon Domain, Song Mountain, at the foot of Song Mountain, isn't that the courtyard where Nalan Hushi was abandoned? Shiyu is a woman who got in Ling Yue's relic. Nangong Yu first proposed to Nalan Hushi, and now he is going to marry Shiyu. What is the connection between this? Could Shiyu and Nalan Hushi be the same person? Nalan Yurong's eyes widened, full of shock and disbelief, followed by hatred. Nalan Hushi, you bitch. You're supposed to be the trash below me. You're the illegitimate daughter of the Nalan family. How did you transform into that stunning Shiyu? Why do you get to marry Nangong, you bitch? Chapter 1588. Swine Disease? No. I will tell everyone that Nalan Hushi is Shiyu. She is the illegitimate daughter, the lowest of the low. Nalan Yurong hurriedly headed for the door. However, just as she reached it, she suddenly stopped. Even if I tell the others that Shiyu is Nalan Hushi, who would believe me? Everyone would treat me as a laughing stock. Nalan Yurong gritted her teeth. A cold glint burst out from her eyes. Nalan Hushi has everything she does now because of Ling Yue's relic. If I could get my hands on that relic. No, I must get that relic. I can't keep living this miserable life. With that thought, Nalan Yurong gritted her teeth and headed to Yanjing City immediately. In the void, several little ones heard the buzzing news from the Miracle Healer Academy and Miracle Healer City. Little Egg strode happily in the void. Oh, my mother is getting married. My mother is really going to get married. Little Egg will have a father in the future. Then I will have a father, a mother, a younger brother, and a younger sister in the future. Haha, Little Egg will no longer be alone. The little golden dragon hovered in the air, casting a disdainful gaze at the little pink pig roaming around in a frolicking manner and little dumb cow trailing behind it. These two embarrassing fellows. Don't tell anyone that I'm with you. Little red bird perched on Xiao Qi's shoulder and chirped. What is marriage? Can it be eaten? What is this silly pig so excited about? Is it sick? Swine disease? You're the only one with swine disease. You silly bird. Little Egg stopped, shooting the little red bird a fierce glare. It laughed with stars in its eyes. Oh, what should I do? I've never been to a wedding before. What should I wear? By the way, I want to be a flower boy. I want to sprinkle flower petals for my mother. I want to be a ring boy and deliver the wedding rings. Ha ha ha, I must dress up nicely. Oh, I'll ask Mom to get me a custom-made outfit. Ha ha ha. Little golden dragon and little red bird looked confused. Flower boy? Ring boy? Custom-made outfit? What the hell is this? Hearing little red bird's chirping questions, little egg put on a proud and coy face, pointed at the little golden dragon, and said arrogantly, "You bunch of bumpkins. You don't even know this bit of common sense, and have the nerve to say you're under me. It's embarrassing for me if word gets out." Little golden dragon and little red bird. I really want to beat him up. Little egg frothed and introduced the marriage scene in the TV series to the two. Its memories spanned tens of thousands of years, mingling with various wedding scenes, plus what it had seen on TV. As a result, its words were a jumbled mess, making little coherent sense. However, little golden dragon and little red bird still understood him. Or rather, they understood one thing. Oh man, weddings do seem like a lot of fun. We're going to play pranks in the bridal chamber and tease the groom. Nangong you. Haha. And Nangong you can't even fight back. Just thinking about it is so exciting. Suddenly, little egg's excitedly drooling, smiling face froze. Its pink face revealed a troubled expression. Oh no, the wedding can't be like that. The procedure is wrong. Little golden dragon and the others looked confused. What's going on? Weren't we all happy just a moment ago? Why the sudden change of heart? Little egg's mind is unpredictable. Little egg ignored them, but exited the void. Chapter 1589. Deep in love outside the void. Hashi and Nangong you were relaxing in the yard of Xingda Hall in Miracle Healer City, basking in the sun. The two did not talk or cultivate, but enjoyed this rare, quiet moment. Nangong you leaned on Hushi's lap, and Hushi's hand gently rested on his head. Those fair and slender fingers, with well-proportioned joints, were like meticulously carved suet jade. They shimmered under the bask of sunlight. The gentle fingers massaged Nangong Yu's temples while pure water spiritual power seeped in through the fingertips, gradually aligning his meridians and spiritual power. The once turbulent spiritual energy seemed to be soothed, sighing in contentment, and then became as docile as a little lamb. A contented and blissful smile appeared on Nangong Yu's face, wishing that this moment could last forever. Unfortunately, that was impossible. Qing Long quickly came in to report. "Master, Xian Wu is seeking an audience." Xian Wu bowed and said, "I've given the clues found at the 7 Stars trapping formation to the old lady. She asked me to tell you that she will definitely root out the culprits behind this. Moreover, the Nangong family has also started questioning some suspects in the Miracle Healer Academy." Xian Wu reported the names and identities of the suspects who were interrogated. Nangong Yu smiled and nodded. "You just need to assist Grandma and let Grandma take the lead in the investigation. Since old lady Nangong wished to make amends with Shi Yu, he certainly wouldn't stand in the way. He would be delighted if Shi Yu could get along well with his grandmother." Xian Wu bowed in response and was about to leave. However, Nangong Yu suddenly said in a deep voice, "Besides assisting Grandma, I want you to secretly investigate this matter as well, especially regarding those from the Nangong family involved in this matter. But don't alert anyone, especially don't let my grandmother know." Xian Wu paused momentarily, but didn't ask any further questions. He bowed again in acknowledgement before quickly departing. Hushi turned to look at him and raised her eyebrows slightly. It seemed to be a faint smile, yet there was a hint of doubt. Nangong Yu adored her expression deeply. He leaned down, kissed her forehead gently, and whispered, "My grandmother is getting on in years. There might be oversights in her investigation." He didn't want to doubt old lady Nangong, but he had to be cautious. "When it comes to your safety, I won't tolerate even the slightest oversight. Sure, if anything were to happen to you, I can't imagine what I might do." A flash of fiery red glinted in Nangong Yu's eyes, and the aura around him seemed to turn almost demonic. Standing not far away, Qing Long trembled all over. A trace of instinctive fear flashed in his eyes. Ever since Nangongyu suppressed the cold poison in his body in the magical beast forest, his strength had advanced by leaps and bounds, reaching the soul-splitting later stage. However, it seemed as if a malicious energy had taken root within him. This energy would surface whenever he became emotionally stirred, making him act out of character. Hashi hugged him gently and said softly, "Me too, Nangongyu. You have to protect me, but also protect yourself. Nangongyu, I don't know what to do if something happens to you." Deep in love, Nangongyu lowered his head and gently kissed her inviting lips. Qing Long left tacitly. The temperature in the air became warm and sultry little by little. Chapter 1590. I need to talk to you suddenly. With a bang, a pink little pig fell from the sky and hit Nangongyu on the head. With a gloomy face, Nangongyu looked at little pink pig, who fell between him and Hashi. His eyes were as sharp as a knife. No one liked to be interrupted when they were in the middle of a sweet moment, exchanging loving words. Little Egg swallowed and thought to himself, "Father is so scary. But Little Egg is a brave little egg. I must move forward bravely for Mother's happiness." "Father, I need to talk to you about something." Nangongyu's gaze was still sharp, giving off a spit it out, get to the point, and then get lost kind of vibe. Little Egg shrank its neck and muttered, "This matter can only be told to you, Father. Mother must not hear about it." Hashi's lips twitched, thinking, "This two-faced rascal. I haven't even gotten married, and he's already cozying up to the new boss." She narrowed her eyes and said coldly, "Is there something he can hear that I can't, Little Egg? Whose spiritual pet are you?" Little Egg shrunk its neck even shorter and looked at Nangongyu expectantly. "Father and Mother look so scary when they're angry." Nangongyu smirked. He became curious about what the little guy had to say. Could it be a secret about Shir? Well, there's no harm in listening. Little Egg rambled on and on in the study, speaking very fast. He jumped from one topic to another. However, Nangongyu understood it, and so did Qing Long, who stood behind Nangongyu. Qing Long's forehead veins pulsed repeatedly. Even with his usually patient and loyal nature, he couldn't help but twitch his lips and say, "Master, I feel that this matter isn't quite right." Little Egg immediately retorted, "Why not? Little Egg's mother is the best mother in the world." "Father, am I right?" Nangongyu nodded without hesitation. "Shir is naturally the best. I'm afraid I haven't given her enough. Since Little Egg said it, I will naturally do it." "Wow, that's great." Little Egg cheered happily, then winked at Qing Long and grimaced. "Did you hear that? Father said he would do it." Qing Long looked at Nangongyu and hesitated to speak. "Master, you are the king of hell." Nangongyu narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "Qing Long, you sure have become quite chatty lately. Since when did it become your place to question my decisions?" Qing Long dare not. "Since you dare not, follow what Little Egg said and start preparing." The veins on Qing Long's forehead throbbed again, but he bowed and followed the command in the end. Little Egg held his round face, daydreamed about the future scenes and his mother's reaction, and chuckled mischievously. In Heaven Number 1 dormitory, Lu Jishi paced back and forth in her room restlessly. Since the day before yesterday, she was sent back to the Miracle Healer Academy by Lu Xiang directly. Moreover, two nascent soul-stage martial artists who were initially assigned to protect her were all recalled by Lu Xiang. She was abandoned by Lu Xiang and imprisoned in Miracle Healer Academy, unable to leave. Worse still, without Lu Xiang's protection, she might not even be able to live in the Heaven dormitory anymore. However, that wasn't Lu Jishi's biggest concern. What terrified her most was that the entire Miracle Healer Academy was now on edge, with everyone feeling at risk. Old Lady Nangong's investigation was incredibly swift, promptly apprehending and interrogating anyone near the desolate courtyard during the banquet. Chapter 1591. Am I pretty? Many people were taken away from the academy. It stood to reason that Lu Zixi should not be found out so quickly, but she had a bad premonition, especially after a man named Zhuo Yihao from the pioneer branch was taken away. Lu Zixi was even more restless. Zhuo Yihao was one of the Gold Core stage martial artists who participated in the Seven Stars trapping formation. If Zhuo Yihao ratted her out, everything would be over for her. Nangong Yu's swift action would be ruthless and heartless. He would not spare her. No, that's impossible. Zhuo Yihao won't rat me out. But what if? Lu Zixi angrily grabbed a vase on the table and threw it on the ground. Why is it that everything seems to be going wrong for me? It's as if the universe is deliberately conspiring against me. Zixi, don't worry. Nangong Yu and the others won't trace it back to us. A pair of hands gripped her shoulders. Even though Lu Zixi wanted to shrug them off in irritation, a sudden warmth surged in her dantian. The voodoo that was lurking in her body became active. Lu Zixi's eyes shifted quickly. She quickly turned around with a weeping expression. She wrapped her arms around the man's neck behind her and said softly, "Yizhou, I'm so scared. Will you protect me?" Of course I will protect you." The man's voice was hesitant and filled with desire, his hands beginning to wander on Lu Zixi's body. Lu Zixi's breath was sweet as she leaned towards the man. "Yizhou, I like you the most. What about you? Do you like me?" "I do." The man gazed at her with deep affection. Unable to contain himself any longer, he leaned down fiercely, capturing Lu Zixi's lips with his while his hands forcefully tore at her clothing. The room quickly filled with intimate sighs and moans. A sly smile flashed in Lu Zixi's eyes. After a while, the noise in the room finally subsided completely. Lu Zixi refreshedly got up from the bed and walked barefoot to the crystal-clear mirror. Her reflection in the mirror was enchanting, appearing a few years younger, yet with a seductive charm that could make any man's heart race just by looking at her. Lu Zixi laughed heartily as the wind blew in from outside the room, lifting the bed curtains and revealing the silhouette inside. The young man, who was still alive and kicking just now, looked withered. He was on the brink of death, as if his vitality had been drained away. However, the scariest thing was the satisfied smile. He kept muttering, "Zixi, let's do it again." Hearing his murmur, Lu Zixi sneered. She waved his hand, revealing a gap in the bed. The dying man fell through the gap. From below, faint roars of beasts could be heard. The bed soon reverted to its original state. Then, another student from the pioneer branch hurried in from the yard. When Hu Jianfei first entered, he was sweating profusely, his eyes filled with anxiety and panic. However, he was immediately entranced upon seeing Li Zixi, who looked as radiant and enticing as a dew-kissed rose. He put all urgent matters to the back of his mind. Lu Zixi turned around and saw Hu Jianfei's infatuated expression. A trace of disdain flashed in her eyes, but she gracefully extended her fingers and beckoned Hu Jianfei, saying, "Come here." Hu Jianfei walked over. He couldn't help but swallow when he saw Lu Zixi's deliberately exposed shoulders and chest. Lu Zixi smiled with satisfaction. "Am I pretty?" Hu Jianfei nodded repeatedly. "Am I prettier or she you?" "Of course, you are prettier. Zixi, I really love you to death." Chapter 1592. Time to reel in the net after speaking. Hu Jianfei could no longer hold back. He hurriedly rushed toward Lu Zixi. Lu Zixi wore a smug grin. Another victim just delivered himself to her doorstep to boost her cultivation. How could she possibly turn him away? These idiots of the Miracle Healer Academy come to me willingly. It will be a waste if I don't take advantage of these nourishments. As long as my strength improves, I will trample Shi Yu and Lu Xiyang under my feet. The room became steamy once again. No one noticed that outside the window, a person was coldly looking at the dirty and corrupt scene inside. Those eyes seemed to be a bottomless abyss, through absorbing the strength of others. She has reached the middle stage of the gold core stage. Caillou clenched his hands slowly, but a cold and mocking smile surfaced. Lu Jishi, you have no idea that your demise is approaching, do you? When Hushi came out of the library, she saw Nangong Yu waiting outside with a smile. Willows swaying gently, a soft breeze blowing. The man standing beneath the willow trees was a sight to behold, as picturesque as a painting or poetic verse. Hushi's mood became indescribably soft and peaceful. She remembered back in college when she was on assignments, she often saw boyfriends waiting outside the library for their girlfriends. The two would then stroll hand in hand by the river, a scene both romantic and sweet. But at that time, she never thought that such simple sweetness would belong to her one day. Hushi stepped forward quickly and took Nangong Yu's hand. Suddenly, she turned her eyes and saw the back of a man leaving, which seemed familiar. That person seems to be Caillou. I heard that after he came out of Spirit Extinct Valley, he chose to stay with Lu Jishi again. It seemed like he was talking to Nangong Yu just now. Hushi raised her eyebrows slightly and said, "Was that Caillou just now? What did he want with you?" Nangong Yu chuckled. "To be precise, he came to look for you, but I intercepted him." Hushi rolled his eyes at her man. This guy is shameless for saying such a thing. Lately, Nangong Yu didn't go back to Jinling Kingdom to prepare the wedding banquet. Instead, he stuck to her side nonstop. Anyone from the Miracle Healer Academy trying to approach her was shooed away, all under the guise of protecting her safety. He's jealous. Hushi was annoyed and amused, and then a hint of doubt crept into her mind. She always felt that Nangong Yu was being secretive lately, unsure of what he was up to. Along with that, the Huang medical branch people were also acting mysteriously. It was as if everyone was in on something, and she was the only one out. However, Hushi never took the initiative to ask. If Nangong Yu wasn't sharing, he had his reasons. She would find out when the time was right. "What does Caillou want from me?" A cold light flashed across Nangong Yu's eyes. He said in a deep voice, "It's nothing. Just that the net I cast out, it's time to reel it in." Lu Jishi woke up suddenly from her sleep and sat up sweating profusely. Her face was full of horror. She looked around and realized she was in her room. Off to the side, several disheveled men were scattered about. "Oh, I'm not in a prison cell. There are no torture devices on me. Luckily, it's just a dream." Those men were students from the Miracle Healer Academy. They had spent intimate moments with Lu Jishi last night. Some of them were so drained that they were unrecognizable, clearly beyond help. Lu Jishi sneered dismissively. With a single pat on the bed, the two men, drained of their fundamental essence, fell off. Chapter 1593. The arrest. The other men woke up and looked at Lu Jishi obsessively, longing for her. They were so spaced out that they didn't even notice that a few of the guys beside them had disappeared. Obviously, these people had lost their minds entirely because of Lu Jishi's charm. Lu Jishi circulated the spiritual power in her body. "I have reached the peak of the gold core stage. I just need to absorb the fundamental essence of a few more individuals to progress to the nascent soul stage." There was a hideous smile on her face. All she needed now was time. "I just need more time, and I can take control of everyone in Miracle Healer Academy. She is a nobody. Even Nangong, you will be my servant." At that thought, Lu Jishi embraced the man approaching her, preparing to absorb his fundamental essence. Suddenly, a loud rumble came from the barrier outside the courtyard. Immediately afterward, uniformed footsteps stormed into the courtyard of the Heaven Dormitory. A chilling voice echoed from the shadows. "Lu Jishi, Hu Jianfei, Zhang Chongwen, the Dean's Disciplinary Department has ordered us to bring you in immediately to investigate the incident of framing Shiyu that day. Any resistance will be met with lethal force." That voice alerted everyone who was still immersed in pleasure in the room. Lu Jishi's face was filled with panic. She exclaimed, "They figured me out? How? How did they find out so soon? This can't be right." Hu Jianfei was already exhausted and thrown under the bed. Zhang Chongwen, whose name was mentioned, had a gaunt face. His cultivation was greatly diminished, but he still gazed at Lu Zhishi obsessively and said, "Zhishi, we will protect you. That's right. We will protect you even if it takes our life." Looking at the obsession in these people's eyes, Lu Zhishi didn't feel relieved at all, but panicked even more. How can this bunch of weaklings protect me? I'm surrounded by nascent soul stage masters. Asshole, I will surely attain the nascent soul stage if I have more time. Then I can break through the barrier of Miracle Healer Academy. Am I going to be captured just like that by Nangong Yu? Lu Zhishi recalled Nangong Yu's ruthlessness. There was no hesitation when he killed Nangong Xian. Lu Zhishi shook her head in panic, shouting, "No, no, I don't want to be taken away. Get out there and stop them. Do whatever it takes. Just keep them away." The men bewitched by Lu Zhishi didn't have the slightest fear or hesitation when they heard those words. They ran out without even putting on their clothes. Outside, the sounds of fighting and the screams of Lu Zhishi's toy boys echoed. Lu Zhishi hastily put on some clothes and escaped through the window beside her. "Lu Zhishi is here." Lu Zhishi had only taken a few steps when a stern shout echoed from behind her. She turned pale with fright, wanting to exert her spiritual power to escape. However, the courtyard was sealed, and she couldn't fly away. More and more footsteps rushed toward her. Lu Zhishi was so frightened that she was trembling all over. "It's over. I can't escape. There's no way out of here." Suddenly, a cold hand grabbed her. A low and hoarse voice rang in her ears. "Follow me." Lu Zhishi was startled. She immediately recognized the person, Caillou. Surprised and delighted, she grabbed Caillou's wrist as if holding the last straw of hope. "Caillou, save me. You must save me." Caillou threw a strange pill in his hand. As it fell to the ground, it exploded with a bang, emitting a dazzling white light. The pursuers were blinded, halting their movements. Seizing the moment, Caillou grabbed Lu Zhishi, and they escaped together. Chapter 1594. Exploit in a remote and cold corner of Miracle Healer Academy. Lu Zhishi looked disheveled. She hid tremblingly in the shadows, looking out occasionally like a startled bird. "Don't worry. We've temporarily escaped our pursuers. However, Iron Kirans are searching everywhere in Miracle Healer Academy. We won't be able to hide for long." Caillou's steady voice came from behind. Lu Zhishi panicked, grabbed Caillou's hand, and said tremblingly, "Caillou, you must save me. You're the only one I can rely on now." Her face was pale with fright as she spoke, but her eyes shone brightly as if she had turned into a whirlpool that could suck people in. Caillou sneered from the bottom of his heart. "You're still trying to bewitch me at this time." However, he revealed a distressed and loyal expression. "Zhishi, don't worry. I will protect you." Lu Zhishi didn't suspect Caillou because she was used to the toy boys obeying her. The lower their cultivation level and the more intimate encounters they had with her, the harder it was for them to escape her control. Although Caillou didn't have sex with him, his low level of cultivation combined with his previous infatuation meant he would head over heels for her. Lu Zhishi took a breath before asking, "Why? How did they find out about me so quickly?" Caillou said gravely, "Everyone who was part of setting up the 7 Stars trapping formation, except Hu Jianfei and Zhang Chongwen, were arrested. I watched them get tortured. Wang Junfeng broke under the pressure and spilled everything. Because of my connection with Zhang and the others, I tricked the guards and sneaked out." Lu Zhishi didn't doubt Caillou's escape, but immediately exclaimed, "Impossible. How could he confess so easily?" "He fell for me." Lu Zhishi didn't finish her sentence, agitatedly scratching the corner of the wall. Her disbelief transformed into anger under Caillou's steadfast gaze. "Useless trash. Wang Junfeng, that useless fool. I can't believe I let him join in on the 7 Stars trapping formation. He betrayed me so easily. I should have killed them earlier. Kill all of them." After letting out a low growl for some time, The noise drew the attention of the patrolling Iron Kirin soldiers. Startled, Lu Jishi quickly ducked back into the corner. She grabbed Caillou's hand and cried softly, "Caillou, the only one I can trust now is you. You must help me." "How do you want me to help you?" After a brief pause, a light sparked in Lu Jishi's eyes. "That's it. You divert their attention, and I'll slip out of the Miracle Healer Academy." "Perfect." Caillou gave her a cold, unrelenting stare, making Lu Jishi feel deeply uneasy. He said indifferently, "The Miracle Healer Academy's barrier is already in place. Even if I lure them away, you can't escape without a special inscribed jade slip." "What am I supposed to do?" Lu Jishi cried in fear. "Am I just meant to sit here and wait for my doom?" "No way can I get caught by Nangongyu. He'd tear me apart. Caillou, can you try to get that inscribed jade slip for me?" A brief smirk of sarcasm crossed Caillou's eyes, but he answered soothingly, "Jishi, don't worry. I might not have the inscribed jade slip to get out of the Miracle Healer Academy, but I did get my hands on the inscribed teleportation jade slip to Sun Moon Mountain Range. We can escape to the Sun Moon Mountain Range first, lay low for a bit, and return when the coast is clear." "Sun Moon Mountain Range?" Lu Jishi murmured, her face reflecting a mix of emotions. Chapter 1595, Petty Sun Moon Mountain Range is dangerous. Every corner of the mountain range is filled with magical beasts, offering no sanctuary for a peaceful rest. If it's just the two of us venturing into that place, it's too dangerous. However, Sun Moon Mountain Range might just be the safest bet. With its vast expanse, surely I wouldn't be so easily found within its confines. Thinking of this, Lu Jishi grabbed Caillou's hand and excitedly said, "Okay, great. Let's go to Sun Moon Mountain Range." In the Heaven No. 1 dormitory where Lu Jishi lived, a gap had formed where her bed used to be, uncovering a hidden cellar below. Beast roars could be heard intermittently from the cellar below. Dean Li Qingxuan of the Heaven Medical Branch waved his hand. In no time, numerous things floated up from the depths. It took Li Qingxuan some time to recognize them through their clothes and accessories. They were two of the Heaven Medical Branch's brightest students who had reached the gold core stage at a young age. "Lu Jishi," Li Qingxuan exclaimed angrily. "She really did this to my students? I won't let her get away with it." Zheng Shuyue furrowed his brows and said, "It looks like Lu Jishi has absorbed their fundamental essence and cultivation. No wonder there's a rumor that Lu Jishi has advanced from the middle stage to the late stage of the gold core stage overnight." Li Qingxuan angrily waved his hand and commanded, "Search. Search every nook and cranny. Even if we have to turn the entire Miracle Healer Academy upside down, we must find that witch. I won't let that woman who has harmed our academy get away." The elders of the Miracle Healer Academy and the members of the Academy Student Council took action and joined the Iron Kirin to search for Lu Jishi. From a distance, Hushi watched the furious Li Qingxuan and Zheng Shuyue. She suddenly glanced at the man beside him and said teasingly, "Didn't you already know where Lu Jishi's was? Why did you let Iron Kirin put on a show, searching high and low?" Nangongyu leaned down to kiss her, smiling calmly. "That woman has tried repeatedly to harm you with vicious schemes. If I let her die easily, wouldn't that be letting her off too lightly? I've heard she always used to have the upper hand, driving others into a corner. Well, this time, let her taste the bitterness of being abandoned by everyone and being chased like a rat on the street." She chuckled. "So, you also knew that these Miracle Healer Academy students would become Lu Jishi's fodder?" Even though it was a question, she said it in confidence, especially when Nangongyu had already identified Lu Jishi as the prime suspect. How could he not keep an eye on her cultivation and movements? Nangongyu smiled. A dark gleam appeared in his eyes. Isn't it more interesting to give her hope and then snatch it away, rather than sending her straight to hell? He could be pretty petty. She chuckled and playfully poked Nangong Yu's hand. All right, okay, Your Royal Highness King of Hell. So, where are we going next to watch the show? Nangong Yu grabbed her hand, kissed it, and smiled. Sheer. You will find out if you come with me. Chapter 1596. Temptation Night had fully descended over the Sun-Moon mountain range. The chilly wind blew briskly, accompanied by the rustling of leaves and the distant roars of magical beasts. Lu Jishi, wrapped in the clothes she took out from her storage ring, looked around vigilantly. It was the low-level magical beast area of the Sun-Moon mountain range, home to only the 3rd and 4th rank magical beasts. It should not pose any danger to Lu Jishi. However, whenever she heard the magical beast roar, she would shudder. Caillou walked into the cave. He brushed off the dust from his clothes. I haven't found any pursuers yet. You should eat something and rest for a while. Lu Jishi did not accept the spiritual fruit in Caillou's hand. Instead, she pulled on his clothes and wrapped an arm around his neck, asking, Caillou, do you like me? The enchanting voice was gentle and charming, with deep temptation. Lu Jishi had already made up her mind. What's the use of Caillou staying by my side? His hand is crippled, rendering him unable to wield his sword. Instead of keeping him around, it's better to take away his fundamental essence. Maybe I will attain the nascent soul stage this time. Once I reach the nascent soul stage, the magical beasts in the Sun-Moon mountain range are no match for me. My escape from the pursuers will be guaranteed, too. Thinking of this, Lu Jishi's voice became softer. Caillou, you have helped me so much. I don't know how to repay you, so I can only dedicate myself to you. Caillou's eyes were deep, and a fleeting smirk came across his face. However, he showed a fascinated expression, grabbing Lu Jishi's hand and handing the spiritual fruit to her. Jishi, you should eat the spiritual fruit first. I picked it for you. Lu Jishi was impatient, but still swallowed the fruit quickly. Following that, she felt her body growing increasingly warm. Hallucination appeared before her eyes. It was as if the man holding her was not Caillou, but the Nangong Yu she longed for. Lu Jishi chuckled. Nangong Yu, I knew it. I knew you liked me. Compared to me, Shiyu is nothing. Ha ha. After a while, the person before her turned into Chishan in the soul-splitting stage. Ugly bastard. If it weren't for your cultivation, I wouldn't want a toad like you to touch me. Ha ha. But your fundamental essence is all mine. Lu Jishi hugged the person before her and clung to him frantically, tearing his clothes with both hands without stopping. Early the following day, Lu Jishi woke up to a sharp, stinging pain all over her body. She groaned in pain. Upon opening her eyes, she realized that she was still in the cave. Her clothes were tattered and barely covered her. Her body had numerous minor scrapes, as if she'd been rubbed against rough stones. Lu Jishi glanced to the side. She quickly spotted a withered, mummified corpse. Its original appearance was utterly unrecognizable. Next to the mummy lay the clothes that Caillou wore yesterday. Lu Jishi stood up and kicked the mummy aside, her eyes full of disgust. When she discovered that her cultivation was still at the gold core stage and hadn't advanced to the nascent soul stage, she stepped on the mummy and grunted, useless trash. I have absorbed your cultivation fully until you're a dried corpse, but I haven't attained the nascent soul stage. You're so useless. Lu Jishi took out another piece of clothing from the storage ring. Then, she treated her wounds with spiritual power before leaving. She felt that this place was too close to the teleportation array. If the pursuers came after her, she would be found immediately. She wanted to go to the area with higher-rank magical beasts. Chapter 1597. Illusion Array, Lu Jishi darted through the forest and mountains until she was nearly drained of her spiritual energy. Finally, she settled in a spot that seemed relatively safe. I should have entered the 5th and 6th rank magical beast area. Lu Jishi found a cave. She planned to rest here tonight. After entering the high-rank magical beast area, it would take a lot of work to find her. However, as soon as she entered the cave, Lu Jishi's figure froze. Her wide eyes radiated a look of disbelief and horror. So, what did she see in the cave? It was the same rocks and the ashes of the grass pile from yesterday. Even Caillou's mummified corpse was in the same spot. Ah! Lu Jishi screamed in horror. She dashed out of the cave as if fleeing for her life, plunging into the darkness. Half an hour later, Lu Jishi saw the familiar cave again. She had been flying at full speed, pushing herself to the limit. It can't be. It's impossible to return to this place. Impossible. Lu Jishi trembled and slowly walked into the cave, only to once again see the mummified corpse of Caillou. She had a total breakdown. Caillou, is this your doing? Is it you playing tricks? Show yourself. Come out. The cave was empty. Only her shrill voice echoed. Sob, Caillou, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Please spare me. Lu Jishi threw herself on the ground and cried loudly, then fell asleep exhausted. When she woke up again, she found her situation had not improved. In fact, it had become even more dire. Lu Jishi realized that she could not exert her spiritual power. Her storage ring wasn't functioning. All the food, magic weapons, and clothes could not be taken out. No, I won't die like this. Lu Jishi shook her head frantically. She then rushed out of the cave. Someone must be plotting against me. I must have fallen into some illusion. That's right. Everything will be fine after I exit the illusion array. I will not die. I will never give up so easily. Despite the distance, Hushi and the others could see Lu Jishi's situation clearly on the high hill. Qian Dezhuang, who was standing behind Hushi, said, "How many days has she been like this?" "It must have been quite some days." Qing Wan chuckled, "But she's impressively resilient. Ordinary people would have gone crazy long ago." Jin Ziyu said lightly, "How can a woman who is so cruel and vicious be an ordinary person? It's been a whole half-month. Most people would have broken down or even ended their lives in such a dire situation. Yet she didn't just survive. She didn't hesitate to seduce any man she encountered in the illusion, wanting to drain them dry. A woman like that would go to any lengths, no matter how wicked, to achieve her goals." It seemed half a month had passed. Meanwhile, Lu Jishi almost lost her sanity in the 7-death illusion array. She could never get out of that cave, nor could she find food or water. Every time she walked back to the cave, she would see the mummified corpse, as if reminding her that she was still living in hell and couldn't break free. Compared with the dead Caillou, her situation was even more miserable. In the illusion array, Lu Jishi was starving to the point of hallucinating delicious food and spiritual fruits. Dressed in tattered clothes, with disheveled hair full of knots and dust, she drooled incessantly, pleading, "Food. Give me food. I need water, huh?" Chapter 1598. Gravence's biting into it is just amazing. The fruit is so tasty, and the grilled meat smells so good. It's just too delicious. I finally got some food. I'm saved at last. Lu Jishi was ecstatic, eating and laughing at the same time. This scene fell in the eyes of Qing Wan and the others, but she was so disgusted that she was about to throw up. Instead of grilled meat, Lu Jishi was eating her limbs. One bite at a time, her mouth was dripping with blood, and the bones of her limbs were exposed. However, she didn't notice it and kept saying, "It's delicious." Hushi glanced at the man who was silently observing the scene from a distance. Leaning lazily in Nangong Yu's embrace, she asked, "Caillou, have you settled your grievances now?" She and Nangong, you couldn't stand Lu Zixi like she was a pesky bug. They could only gain peace after squashing it. At most, they would let Lu Zixi taste more pain before crushing her to death. However, the situation was different for Caillou. His hatred now equaled the love he once had for Lu Zixi, and his ruthlessness now matched the loyalty he once showed. Caillou crafted the entire plan to capture Lu Zixi. Nangongyu was simply in a good mood and went along with Caillou, ensuring that Lu Zixi met an even more tragic end. Caillou smiled slightly. His expression seemed to have returned to the sunny and healthy Academy Student Council president. It's over. Shiyu, I'm sorry for what happened back then, and thank you. But she didn't comment on it. Then, Caillou's figure flickered, flying toward the seven-death illusion array. Qian Dezhuang said with eagerness, Shiyu, let's go see what's going on. That bitch, Lu Zixi, did a number on our master back in the day. Chen Xiaofeng also chimed in, that's right. We don't steal Caillou's spotlight, but adding insult to her injury is fine. She smiled. No kidding, of course. I want to see what happens to Lu Zixi. Lu Zixi hurt her the most, and she didn't mind adding insult to injury at all. Lu Zixi was biting her arm frantically when suddenly a figure appeared in front of her. She lifted her head, her vision blurry. Upon seeing Caillou's face, she gritted her teeth and snarled, Caillou, it's you again, always haunting me like a pestering ghost. Come at me. I'm not afraid of you. You're not even real. Ha! You've been dead and gone, all dried up because of me. Even if you can't get over it, so what? You idiot, I never cared about you. You were just a pawn on my chessboard. Ha! Caillou gently waved his hand. The seven-death illusion array imposed on the surrounding area disappeared. Lu Zixi's laughter stopped as a piercing pain came from her arms and legs. Her once muddled mind slowly cleared up. Everything before her eyes was no longer hazy and unclear. Instead, her circumstances were laid bare in front of her. The bloody bite marks on her hands and feet, and the exposed white bones laid bare before her eyes. She couldn't hold back any longer and let out a hysterical scream. Caillou watched her state condescendingly and smirked. Lu Zixi, is your own flesh delicious? How does it feel to lose your limbs? As he spoke, he raised his hand. Although it looked intact, it had long since become useless, all because of Lu Zixi. Chapter 1599. Tit for tat. Lu Zixi stopped screaming. She raised her head, revealing a gaunt face. In just half a month, her face became dirty and ugly. She even had wrinkles at the corners of her eyes. Caillou, Lu Zixi suddenly yelled sharply. How are you still alive? Why are you still alive? How is this possible? Didn't I drain my fundamental essence? Caillou smirked mockingly and disgusted. Lu Zixi, just seeing you makes my stomach turn. Do you think I would let you touch me, let alone drain my fundamental essence? Don't you like to use the 7 stars trapping formation very much? How does it feel to replace the confinement runes in the formation with illusion runes, getting trapped inside without a way out? Enjoying it? Lu Zixi froze all of a sudden. Her deeply sunken, bloodshot eyes stared at Caillou as if it was the first day she knew this person. Then, she saw several figures descend from the sky behind Caillou. Shiyu, Nangongyu, Jinziyu. Everyone looked at her mockingly, as if they were looking down at a dirty maggot. Especially Shiyu. She was so glamorous, so blissfully happy, in stark contrast to her misery. Lu Zixi suddenly seemed to realize something and hysterically screamed at Caillou. It was you. Caillou, you betrayed me, didn't you? This is all your fault. Caillou sneered. Betray you? Lu Zixi, after the way you treated me, did you really think I'd still be loyal to you? Are you too overconfident? Or have you just become hopelessly stupid? I never betrayed you. I just repaid the grudge from when you sent someone to kill me in the Spirit Extinct Valley. To kill me. Lu Zixi's body trembled with agitation. She didn't hear anything else Caillou said. All she knew was that Caillou had betrayed and harmed her. Otherwise, she would have escaped. Caillou, you traitor. I will kill you. Kill you. Since the seven-death illusion array dissipated, Lu Zhishi's spiritual power in the Dantian recovered swiftly. She rushed toward Caillou like a madwoman. Caillou sneered and took a step back. A black shadow sprang from his waist, rushing toward Lu Zhishi's forehead. It was a flash of black sword light. Before Lu Zhishi could get close, it pierced through her forehead, followed by a loud bang. Lu Zhishi was dead. Half of her head was blown apart, a gruesome sight to behold. When she died, she still didn't want to believe it, let alone accept it. She didn't die in the hands of Shiyu, nor in the hands of Nangongyu, but in the hands of Caillou, a pawn that she used by the sword of trash she looked down upon. In Spirit Extinct Valley, what kept him alive were these unexpected and surprising attack methods. Zhang Chong came forward from the crowd behind him. He said hoarsely, "Brother Kai, I'm sorry. I didn't believe you back then." Caillou smiled. "How can I blame you? I lied to you intentionally." Zhang Chong was still full of guilt. "Thank you for supporting our novels." Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1600. Wait another few days. Only now did Zhang Chong realize that Caillou had returned to Lu Zhishi's side to seek revenge. That's right. Brother Kai used to be such an upright, decisive, and capable person. So how could he be a fool controlled by lust? Zhang Chong wished he could do something to compensate Caillou. Zhang Chong suddenly thought of something, turned around to look at Heshi, and asked hopefully, "Shiyu, can Caillou's hand be healed?" Heshi said calmly, "The atrophy of the meridians in the hand isn't incurable. It can naturally be cured. However, it takes a long time with gradual treatment and an extended period of rehabilitation. Even after healing, it will remain fragile. Any attack may cause the meridians to tear open. However, choosing the profession of refining equipment shouldn't be an issue." Zhang Chongyue's eyes brightened with every word he heard. By the end, he rushed to Heshi, pleading, "Shiyu, please heal Brother Kai's hand. I'll repay you however you want, even if it means working as a slave for you." Heshi was about to speak, but Nangongyu grabbed her shoulders and sneered, "Forget about it. She will not be free for the coming months." As Nangongyu said that, he was about to shoo them away. Heshi was amused. She threw a porcelain bottle to Caillou. "For now, take these meridian cleansing pills for a while, and you will gradually see improvement. Later, find me in Jinling Kingdom. I'll provide a complete treatment to you." Caillou caught the pills. His usually calm face slowly crumbled, and his eyes began to well up with tears. He tightly clutched the pills in his hand. Although weak, a surge of boundless hope welled up within him. He owed Shiyu so much. One day, I would repay her for everything. I definitely would. The person who framed Shiyu at that wedding banquet was ultimately traced back to Lu Zhishi. This served as a way for the old lady Nangong to make amends to Shiyu. Lu Zhishi died, and the ordeal finally came to an end. Old lady Nangong took Nangongyu's hand and said, "I'm happy for you to have found the love of your life. I'll be returning to Siam Continent now, but when you get married, I'll come to attend your wedding." Standing behind old lady Nangong, Nangong Hua sneered and said coldly, "It's just marrying a woman from the lower realm. What's the point of participating? It's a disgrace to our Nangong family. Oh, it's just nice you don't want to attend. I never planned to invite you to my wedding either." "You." Nangongyu was puzzled, but still nodded. Standing not far away, Xianwu watched old lady Nangong leave the Miracle Healer Academy. His brows were furrowed, seemingly having his mind burdened by thoughts. Seeing his attitude, Qing Long asked in bafflement, "Xianwu, what's wrong?" Xianwu opened his mouth, wanted to say something, but swallowed the words back. After all, old lady Nangong is the master's relative, the only grandmother the master respected. If I only have suspicions without evidence, I shouldn't make baseless accusations, right? Thinking of this, Xianwu shook his head and said, "Nothing. Should we prepare to return to the Jinling Kingdom? After all, the master's wedding is around the corner." However, Qing Long clicked his tongue. He coughed lightly. "Perhaps we might need to wait another few days." "Why the wait? Doesn't the master always talk about bringing the princess home?" "You'll find out soon." Chapter 1601. Dating. As soon as Hushi stepped out of the library, Qing Wan greeted her with a mischievous grin. "Miss, this is a letter from Master." Qing Wan handed out the inscribed jade slip in her hand and winked at Hushi. Hushi took the inscribed jade slip suspiciously and inspected it through divine sense. The written content was straightforward. It was a simple map. Someone wrote flamboyantly at a spot on the map, "Sheer, I will wait for you here. See you soon." Hushi felt puzzled. Just as she was going to ask Qing Wan about the letter, Qing Wan dashed off with a giggle. She shook her head helplessly and smiled. "Nangong, what are you up to?" It was nearing dusk, the sun slowly setting, and the sky growing darker. When Hushi arrived at the valley marked on the map, the valley seemed to be bathed in a layer of golden-orange glow, looking serene and breathtakingly beautiful. The well-dressed Nangong stood at the valley's entrance, greeting Hushi with a gentle smile. The scene enchanted Hushi. A flash of fleeting, pleasant surprise shone in her eyes. She had always known that her man was handsome and outstanding. However, under the compliment of the sunset, she truly saw just how remarkable and irresistibly charming he was. Her heart raced as if it might leap out of her chest. A rush of warmth surged through her. She blushed, wanting to throw herself into his arms immediately. Despite that, Hushi only smiled playfully and asked, "Nangong, what are you doing?" Nangong eyes were tender and affectionate, gazing deeply into hers. His magnetic voice echoed softly in the twilight. "Sheer, we've known each other for a year. From the moment we met and fell in love to the verge of our wedding, I realized I've never truly dated or given you any romantic surprises. I've been remiss as a boyfriend." Hushi was both surprised and amused. "Who taught you these? It must be that naughty little egg, right? Otherwise, how would Nangong, a man from ancient times, know about modern concepts like dating, a romantic surprise, and even call himself a boyfriend?" In the void, little egg grimaced at the outside world and then exchanged glances with the other little creatures. With a flash, they all disappeared into the void. Even Xiao Qi had left. Although Hushi noticed it, she thought they wanted to play in the valley, so she didn't bother. Nangong reached out his hand and whispered, "Sheer, would you like to go on a date with me?" Hushi smiled brightly, her eyes radiating a gentle and sweet warmth. Her delicate hand reached into Nangong's palm, saying, "I would be honored." His broad palm enveloped her slender hand, and their fingers intertwined tightly. The light in Nangong's eyes shone like stars in the night sky, holding the girl's hand. It was as if he owned the whole world. The two did not speak and strolled quietly in the valley. As night gradually fell, bringing with it a slight chill, however, the lovebirds remained utterly oblivious to it. Nangong stopped when they arrived at a lake. There were no stars or clouds tonight. The lake appeared pitch black, emitting a cold, eerie glow. Anyone who accidentally stumbled upon this place might find it creepy and terrifying. However, martial artists with advanced cultivation, like Hashi, naturally were unfazed. She was only curious about what Nangongyu wanted to do when he brought her here. Chapter 1602. Yes, I do. Nangongyu suddenly released her hand and whispered, "Sure, close your eyes. I have a second gift for you." Hashi tilted her head, looking at him with a playful curiosity, but obediently closed her eyes. She felt a gentle breeze by her ear and a warm touch brushing past it, as if handling the most precious treasure. Hashi, feeling ticklish, shrank her neck a little. Soon after, she heard Nangongyu's soft voice in her ear, "Hashi, it's done. Open your eyes." As soon as she opened his eyes, Hashi was stunned. She closed them due to a conditioned reflex and then slowly opened them again. What entered her eyes was the view of a beautiful valley like a fairyland. A lush green meadow stretched out before her, dotted with vibrant blossoms in full bloom. The once pitch-black night sky suddenly lit up with countless twinkling stars and a radiant moon. It illuminated the valley as if it were day, yet with the unique intimacy and tranquility only night could bring. She took a sharp intake of breath and looked around. The gloomy and cold lake just now had become entirely different. Colorful butterflies fluttered through the air, leaving behind brilliant trails of glowing light. Ahead of the lake was a cascading waterfall, with water splashing everywhere. The sparkling droplets scattered in the air seemed like stars from the sky, shattered and sprinkled all around. Some said that those who loved you would be willing to do everything for you, even if it was chasing the stars and moon. In the past, Hashi would think it was a hypocritical joke. However, at this moment, she felt it was so real. Everything before her eyes felt like a beautiful dream. Yet, this dream was meticulously crafted by Nangongyu just for her. Every blade of grass, every ray of light, held a testament to Nangongyu's feelings for her. She looked at Nangongyu, her eyes slowly filling with warmth and emotion. Nangongyu put on a gentle and handsome smile, but the nervousness in his eyes betrayed him. "Sure, do you like it?" For this day, he couldn't fall asleep for several nights because he feared he would mess up. She nodded and said softly, "I like it. No girl would not like such a romantic and beautiful dream, especially since this dream was woven by the one she loved." Nangongyu took a deep breath. Under the starry night and moonlight, in this beautiful valley surrounded by butterflies and waterfalls, he bent one knee and knelt slowly. The evening wind gently blew the man's black satin-like hair, revealing his flawless face. A man who could easily charm countless young women was now nervously kneeling before her, with sweaty palms, yet firmly holding up a crystal-clear ring. Will you marry me and become my wife, forever and always, standing by my side? Is this a proposal? This was a scene that appeared in many romance dramas. Even if Hashi hadn't been exposed to them, there was no way she wouldn't know. She thought she didn't care about these gestures. She believed that if a man proposed to her one day, she'd scoff at it, even calling it boring. However, it turned out that this was not the case. Tears welled up in her eyes uncontrollably, dampening the corners of her eyes. For the first time, Hashi understood what it meant to cry tears of joy and feel happiness and emotion that shook her soul. Seeing her tears, Nangongyu's face was flustered for a moment. Before he could speak, Hashi had already stepped forward, held Nangongyu's hand holding the ring, and said sobbingly, "Yes, I do." Chapter 1603. Forever Love. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as Hashi finished speaking, the lake before her ejected dozens of water jets, forming a fountain shimmering with iridescent lights. At the same time, Countless pink petals rained down from the sky, fluttering down gracefully. It was a breathtaking sight. The butterflies that were once fluttering close to the ground suddenly soared upward, weaving together and casting beautiful patterns in the air. Hushi looked up, appreciating the view of petals falling from the sky. Hearing the distant and the melodious music coming from nowhere, she couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle. Little Egg even prepared a music fountain and scattered flowers. Can this be even more outrageous? Just as she was thinking, she was suddenly pulled into a strong, warm embrace and was held tightly. Just as Hushi was about to say something, the passionate kiss stopped her with emotion flooding her. Stars twinkled in the night, the moon shone brightly, water murmured gently, and petals fell all around them. They hugged and kissed each other deeply in such a fairyland and made a vow for a lifetime. Little golden dragon, did you see that? Mother was so moved that she cried just now. Little Egg, you were too young. This scene is not suitable for children. Don't look at it. Ah, bad by who don't cover my eyes. You are underage, not me. Chatters came from afar. She blushed and pushed Nangongyu away. Her cheeks were so hot that it felt like burning. Her emotions overtook her. She totally forgot about others being nearby and got so lost in Nangongyu's kiss. Nangongyu, however, seemed totally cool with it, wearing a satisfied grin. He grabbed Hishi's hand, slipping a silver ring onto her ring finger. With a slight cough, he said, "Some people say that this is the closest place to your heart. With this ring here, I can capture your heart forever." He was so thrilled hearing Shishue say yes, "I do," that he totally spaced on the way Little Egg showed him how to put on the ring. Hushi stretched out her hand to look at the ring on her hand, smiling to herself. She couldn't figure out what it was made of. It felt like metal but was so much smoother and finer. She tilted her head to look at Nangongyu and said, "It's not fair that you are the only one who traps my heart. I want to claim your heart too." Nangongyu was about to take out another ring when Hushi took out a simple man's ring from the void. Hushi discovered this ring in the sealed dragon domain. Surprisingly, it had no special attributes, nor did it serve any purpose in talisman, array, or martial art. However, oddly enough, such an ordinary ring had existed for thousands of years without any signs of decay or rust. Finding it peculiar, Hushi decided to keep it. She didn't slip the ring onto Nangongyu right away. Instead, she pulled out a silver needle and delicately etched a few words inside the ring. "She and you, never apart." Seeing these words, Nangongyu's eyes flashed. Before Hushi reached out, he put the ring on his ring finger. Hushi smiled and looked at him. "Who said this ring is for you? Who else can you give it to?" Nangongyu lowered his head and kissed her lips. His smile was like a bright sun. "Cheer, I've got dibs on you forever." Before Hushi could speak, Little Egg's cheers suddenly came from not far away. "Oh, the marriage proposal is successful. Daddy, Mother, happy wedding." Little Pink Pig scampered over with its short legs. Then a bunch of others showed up one after the other, trailing behind Little Egg and heading her way. Chapter 1604 Happiness Qing Long by Hu Qing Wan, Xian Wu, Gu Lufeng, Ouyang Haoshuan, Jin Ziyu, Qian Dazhuang. Almost everyone they knew in Miracle Healer City appeared. "Zhang," he said excitedly. "Brother Shiyu, I have tamed these colorful butterflies." "Cool, huh? When you get married, I will tame many colorful phoenixes for you as wedding gifts." Zhang Chong patted his head and said in annoyance, "Stop calling her brother Shiyu. Obviously, Shiyu is a super gorgeous woman now." Little Egg hopped around excitedly. "Mother, it was all my idea. I gave all the proposal tricks to Father." Wei Qingyuan took a step forward and chuckled. "Shiyu, congratulations." "Shiyu, congratulations." Everyone from the Huang medical branch shouted with a smile. "Congratulations, Master. Congratulations, Princess." Qing Long and the rest bowed down to Nangongyu. Ouyang Haoshuan and Gu Lufeng stood side by side, each pressing a fist to their heart and giving a little nod. In the moonlight, they softly said, "Shiyu, congratulations." They hoped the only master they'd ever truly followed would find the happily ever after. Xiaoqi was joyous. Her clear eyes seemed to reflect the starlight. "Sister, happy love." As she looked around at everyone, feeling a surge of emotion in her eyes, these were all the folks she met after arriving in this world. Friends, relatives, partners. She had never thought that she could have such feelings and blessings before. She had long been accustomed to fighting alone and shouldering everything alone. She had always marched to the beat of her own drum, never caring what others thought or needing anyone to join in on her journey. But she had always believed that her whole life world would be summarized in this manner. But it turned out she was wrong. Receiving genuine blessings and affection from these people truly touched her heart. It's as if the originally pale life was suddenly filled with flowers. She would no longer be lonely or tired. As she whispered, "Thank you. I also hope you can find your own happiness." Nangongyu hugged his beloved lady from behind, with fragrant flower petals gently flying on their cheeks. Everyone's laughter echoed in the air. If only this kind of happiness could last forever. Whoosh, whoosh, whoopsh. In the quiet night, an old man in ragged clothes was running desperately in the forest. Far behind him, several beastkins were swiftly searching for traces, moving at great speed. Those beastkins were about to catch up with the old man. The old man's face was filled with fear and despair. His cloudy eyes were bloodshot, fixated on the sky not far away. A hoarse voice echoed in the dark night. "Is it true that heaven wants to destroy our Feng family?" As soon as he finished speaking, a bone pendant on his body suddenly emitted a dazzling purple light. The old man was startled at first and then cried with joy. The beastkin behind him was getting closer and closer. A tiger beastkin was already shouting, "Don't let the bastard who wants to murder my king escape. Kill him, kill him." However, just as the beastkin closed in, weapons poised to strike, the figure ahead began to fade, eventually disappearing into the darkness of the forest. The tiger beastkin frowned and said, "Teleportation array? No, this energy fluctuation doesn't seem like it." Feng Yuan wrinkled his nose and sniffed. His expression changed. He broke through the barrier and went to the upper realm? How is this possible? The tiger beastkin's face darkened. "Let's go back and report to the king." Chapter 1605. Lu family in an inconspicuous hall on the Siam continent. The Feng family's patriarch knelt down with a thud. "Third elder, please save our Feng family. Please help us avenge our family." Seated above was a middle-aged man with a sinister appearance. He glanced at the patriarch with disgust and said coldly, "You sent a message through Yun Zhao, claiming you have information about the wood source. Is that true? I've expended significant energy to allow you to breach the barrier and enter this continent. If I find any deception in your words, I'll destroy you and disintegrate your soul." Feng family's patriarch banged his head on the ground. He said tremblingly, "I wouldn't dare to deceive the third elder. The wood source has indeed appeared in the magical beast forest. If the third elder doubts it, you can investigate for yourself. However, that place is a beastkin's lair. Among them is a winged dragon beast that has advanced to rank 12. If we are not fully prepared, I fear it's just a bunch of lowly beastkin." The third elder snorted, narrowing his eyes. "Come here. Let me examine you." Feng family's patriarch stepped forward with trepidation. He was about to ask the third elder what he intended to examine. Suddenly, the third elder locked onto his dantian. A potent, chilling spiritual power infiltrated into it. Feng family's patriarch let out an agonizing scream, his body trembling uncontrollably. He wanted to beg for mercy, but didn't dare to. On the other hand, joy painted the third elder's face, it's the wood source. There are truly the residues of wood source. Haha, our Lu family's opportunity to rise has finally come. The wood source was the most robust and pure energy in the world. Once this energy manifested, it would linger for a long time. People within its presence, while breathing and channeling their spiritual energy, would also absorb this power. However, because it was incredibly subtle, it often went unnoticed. However, the third elder, being a master of the void darkness stage, naturally had ways to detect it. He stood up abruptly and said, "Go find Yunjiao to tend to your wounds. I will inform the family master and the great elder. Muhua, you've done a great service this time. If we truly obtain the wood source, our Lu family will definitely reward you." Feng family's patriarch was overjoyed and quickly bowed to express his gratitude. The news about the wood source swept through the Lu family like a hurricane, startling everyone. Lu Songhai, the Lu family master, gazed at those below and instructed sternly, "Wood source is something the entire Siam continent covets. We must keep this news a secret." Everyone below nodded in agreement. Lu Songhai turned his gaze to the Feng family's patriarch and said calmly, "Can you determine who or what possesses the wood source?" Feng family's patriarch shook his head in panic. He initially thought the wood source was from the dragon, but after the fight, he discovered that maybe it wasn't. At that time, there were so many people in the magical beast forest. Feeling the disdainful and cold stares from the surrounding members of the Lu family, as if they were looking at a useless pawn, the patriarch of the Feng family trembled slightly. Suddenly, a handsome young man standing behind the Feng family's patriarch took a step forward, bowed to Lu Songhai, and said, "Master, I might have a way to determine who owns the wood source." This young man's name was Feng Yunjiao. He was the only remaining descendant of the Feng family, and the only hope for the Feng family. Despite his age, his talent was somewhat lacking. He had only reached the nascent soul stage. However, only he was kept by the Lu family to train at the main residence. This was because his spiritual roots and the techniques he could cultivate were exceptionally unique. Chapter 1606. Reincarnation Art. Feng Yunjiao had a mutated with spiritual root, but his ability wasn't related to healing, but to controlling time. Even if he could only control the flow of time within a limited area, it was still an incredibly rare ability. Lu Songhai's attitude toward Feng Yunjiao softened a lot. He said in a deep voice, "What do you propose?" Feng Yunjiao raised his head, revealing a gentle and charming smile. "I attained the third level of reincarnation art half a year ago. If the residue of the wood source is sufficient, I believe I can definitely recreate the scene from several months ago." The third level of the reincarnation art? With that said, everyone in the Lu family sat up and looked at Feng Yunjiao in shock. The Feng family's patriarch was startled, exclaiming, "Yunjiao, casting the reincarnation art comes with a great cost. With your current cultivation level, if you employ the art, you will probably be downgraded to the gold core stage. You can't do that." Feng Yunjiao remained composed, with no hint of panic on his face. He calmly said, "The Lu family has shown Yunjiao immense kindness. It is Yunjiao's honor to lessen the burden of the family master and the elders." Lu Songhai nodded repeatedly, looking at Feng Yunjiao with an increasingly pleasing expression. "Nice. Great. Yunjiao, for your dedication to the Lu family, we will surely not let you down. Yunjiao, third elder, you shall investigate the wood source." Lu Songhai paused. This matter must be kept a secret. No one else should find out about it. As for the Lu family, everything proceeds as usual. We can't have anyone suspect anything. As for reporting to the elderly patriarch, I will handle it accordingly. For the matters regarding the Miluo continent, I will have Wu Shuang assist you." Everyone below received the order. Their eyes were filled with burning passion. If the Lu family could secure the wood source, they would undoubtedly become one of the prominent families on the Siam continent. From then on, the rise of the Liu family would be unstoppable. In the northern glacier of the Miluo continent, in the Thousand Poison Valley, with her face veiled, she stared intently at a nearby portrait. In a sudden burst of anger, she grabbed a glass and hurled it to the ground. The portrait depicted a woman of unparalleled beauty, wearing dazzling clothes that shimmered with iridescent light. Though her face wore a cold and indifferent expression, devoid of any emotion, anyone would be captivated upon seeing her. Shiyu, Nangongyu. Lu Wushuang yelled out these two names bitterly. Unexpectedly, Shiyu turned out to be a woman and took away the phoenix feather heavenly dress that she sought after for so long. What made her resentful the most was that Nangongyu turned out to be just like Nangong Outyin. The two enchanting beauties, Feng Lianying and Yun Jingxue, could not seduce him. On the contrary, he was about to get married to Shiyu. Trash. A bunch of trash. What's the point of keeping you alive? How did Yun Jingxue fail to seduce Nangongyu? Without that, there's no way for me to implant voodoo into Nangongyu's body. How can I turn Nangongyu into my puppet? Now that Nangongyu is about to marry Shiyu, am I just going to watch the bastard of Nangong Outyin and Yun Charan live happily ever after? No, I won't let that happen. The bastard of Yun Charan has to taste all the pain in the world and meet a tragic end. This is the only way to quench my resentment. Also, that arrogant young man. In Lu Wushuang's eyes flashed the face of Ouyang Haoshuan, who still smiled nonchalantly even with a severed hand. A fiery glint appeared in her eyes. That you're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.